Are you troubled by strange noises in the middle of the night?
Do you experience feelings of dread in your basement or attic?
Have you or any of your family ever seen a spook, specter, or ghost?
If the answer is yes, then don't wait another minute. Pick up your phone and call the professionals. Go,
Ghostbusters!
Our courteous and efficient staff is on call 24 hours a day to serve all your supernatural elimination needs.
We're ready to believe you!
Hey there, Enthusiacs. Welcome back to Hero Talk. I'm JudgeGreg. I am your host. I am the law. You know it. Joining me today, on my digital right, the Dark Princess, and on my digital left, Baron Fang. Neither one of us being a Baron, a princess, or a judge. But that's who we are. So, Jen, Jeff, hey, welcome to Hero Talk.
Thank
Welcome.
you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
All right, so today we're going to talk about Ghostbusters. Very, very popular movie. Just about to hit its 30-year anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jeff, I'm going to ask you the question, because we're the old ones here. Did you see this in the theater?
No, I did not. Actually, I'm a bit embarrassed to admit. Probably my first exposure to Ghostbusters was the real Ghostbusters cartoon, and then I saw the actual movie maybe a year after that. I didn't really see a lot of movies in the theater at that age, and I think my parents might have been worried about some of the salty language, perhaps. Yeah. So no, not in the theaters. No.
For me, this is gonna be a fun one. I saw this in the theater.
Oh wow!
First movie I ever saw in the theater. And I was fairly young. Like, I know this movie's been out a while, and I seem kind of old, but like I was still pretty young. I think I was like 3 or 4 when I finally saw this movie.
Oh wow!
I would have been 3, turning 4. And that librarian ghost at the beginning, yeah. Everyone's saying it's a comedy, and like I'm a little kid, and I see that ghost, and that thing scared me so bad. But now to this day, I'm actually kind of interested in haunted places. So I don't know, maybe this affected me in some form.
Inspired that, perhaps. Yeah.
So Jen, you obviously were not around when this was in the theaters the first time.
No, not yet.
So when did you see this movie?
It's funny because I feel like and I think this is part of the reason why I hold them so close to my heart and why they're some of my favorite movies. I just grew up watching them. I can't even tell you the first time I watched it. I feel like I was watching it when I was in diapers. Yeah. But yeah, I just grew up watching it. I'm sure it was on VHS in my house all the time. Me and my brother just were raised on it all the time, and I just got obsessed. So.
Yeah. Did you ever see the cartoon? The real Ghostbusters?
The real Ghostbusters?
Oh yes, I loved it. That's why I giggled when he mentioned it, because I loved it so very much.
Yeah, I didn't get this at the time. I watched it, by the way. I watched just about every episode, and then I read about it later, and it turns out that, well, I just think it's funny, and there's these other ghosts, and I'm not paying attention. The writers took so much special care to, like, actually investigate real cases of ghost stories and, like, real mythologies, and, like, there weren't a whole lot of throwaway stories. They put so much work into that show, and it feels like wasted effort because it went right over my head.
Yeah, I didn't appreciate a lot of that stuff until later myself. You're probably right. For all the research they did, I don't think the kids that were watching the show really appreciated that extra effort.
Yeah. No. Did you see the other Ghostbusters cartoon that was on around the same time?
You know, I have a vague recollection of it. I remember being angry that he even existed. Yeah. Like, what is?
No,
and
technically,
to be honest,
it was
I don't know the
first.
story. Well, yeah. How did that work? Was it they got the name first,
I think
or
they used the name, or I think they had been using the name. I'm not sure when it was out, but it turns out they didn't actually have a copyright on it, if I'm remembering the story correctly. So when it came time to make, the Ghostbusters that we all know and love,
right?
Like they just couldn't call their show Ghostbusters. They could call themselves and everything else Ghostbusters.
Okay, so right.
That's why the show is the real Ghostbusters.
Okay. Look, I have a vague recollection of that alternate one, and I think they actually both came out more or less the same time, around 86, 87, but I don't really remember anything about it other than that it felt like a poor substitute for the real thing.
I remember there was a monkey.
Yes, there was definitely a monkey.
And I think the car talked.
Yeah.
It was like an old-timey, like, Addams Family type car, and that's what they rode around in.
So, just forgive me, but I had no idea there was even another Ghostbusters cartoon. So can you just quickly explain what it was? Was it them, or was it a whole different team?
It was a whole different team. It was I think a tall blonde guy, and then a short dark haired guy, and a monkey, like literally a monkey, an orangutan. And they would drive around in their car, which could also talk.
Oh god!
And then they would fight like this other like evil ghost who would send ghosts after them. And they had a theme song which was not nearly as iconic.
Didn't they live in a house in between the World Trade Centers or something like that? Like literally,
I think
like
so.
a little...
Yeah, like it was like the two giant towers and like this little shack type house right in between them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was certainly not as watchable.
No, it was quite bad.
Yeah.
But speaking of watchable, so let's talk about this movie. Cast of this movie, I'm just going to go over real quick. We have Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Sigourney Weaver, Harold Ramis, Rick Moranis, Ernie Hudson, and I just looked this up and I thought it was really kind of classic. Reginald Veljohnson, once again as a police officer.
Yep.
Man, if there's ever a guy who is typecast,
that's him. I have to wonder, is that the first chronological
It has to
appearance
be,
of
right?
him as a
Like,
police officer?
this predates Die Hard.
Oh, for sure, definitely
Yeah.
before Die Hard. Yeah.
So-
a great cast, pretty much top to bottom. And I mean, yeah, granted, I've never really before Jen wrote her recent article on the site, I hadn't really thought too much about the alternative castings. The only one that I had heard of was of course the John Belushi thing. But yeah, Jen, you mentioned that there were some other alternatives that came up before they decided on a couple of the supporting characters as well.
Yeah, who else did you have in the article, Jen? I remember a couple, and then I think I looked up another few.
Well,
Who did you have?
in the early stages of writing it, Dan Aykroyd had envisioned basically Eddie Murphy as Winston,
Oh yeah,
and then John Candy as Tully.
right. But he John
So-
Candy was going to be like not the geek guy, but he was like a different type of character, wasn't he? Still.
I'm sure that he would have been different because I can't imagine you picturing John Candy fully in what he became. But
Yeah.
that's basically what he had in mind. And then again, Belushi is Venkman. But it's funny though that Belushi passed away. The other two turned down the roles. Then apparently Michael Keaton and Chevy Chase were both offered and turned down roles, the option to play Venkman. So I just
yeah.
I just feel like it was, like I said in the article, I just feel like it was complete just destiny intervening and fate. I cannot imagine anyone else playing these characters. The chemistry was perfect.
Yeah.
Bill Murray needs to be in this movie.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah. And Jen and I were talking about the Eddie Murphy idea, and it's wrong on a lot of reasons. One, because how are you going to get Eddie Murphy to play a supporting role in anything? Like it doesn't work. Like he's got a larger than life personality. The Winston character needed to be kind of an everyman, a guy, an unknown who came in.
He's not a scientist. He just wants the job, you know.
Yeah. If it had been Eddie Murphy turning up at the 50-minute mark or whatever, like. Would we have been able to just get over the fact that Eddie Murphy's now in the movie and actually accept Winston as the new guy, who's overawed by all this? I just don't think. I think Eddie would have been cracking wise really rather than playing the character.
I am certain that if Eddie Murphy was playing Winston would show up in the first act.
Oh right, yeah.
I think he would be they would be hiring him as soon as they got the building.
Yeah,
or he'd be their buddy that they knew or something. But
I also feel like he was more of an anchor to the everyday, like you said, the everyman, but just everyday person watching it. He was sort of the sane anchor to all this silly craziness happening and all this humor and over the topness. Eddie Murphy would have just pushed it over, whereas he was sort of, he was funny and relatable in his normal way, that's a big Twinkie, just chill and approachable and all that. So much better fit.
Easily my favorite of the Ghostbusters. And I know that's sacrilege because it's supposed to be Peter Venkman, but I liked that he was just this was just a job for him,
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if the dead are rising from their grave or whatever. No, he's trying to get his 11.5.
And as much as I respect John Candy, Rick Moranis needed to be Lewis. The Lewis character needed to be the way he was, and just the visuals with Rick Moranis playing off the taller, more dominant Sigourney Weaver.
Their scenes were great. Sigourney Weaver was great in this movie too. She had just come off of Alien, right? I think Alien was before this. Jeff, you're old. You'd remember, right?
Alien definitely. Aliens, I would assume would have been after this.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was.
Pretty sure.
Yes, you're correct. I just looked it up so that nobody has to yell into their iPod.
She's great because you need for the whole Venkman Dana thing to work as well as it did. It helped that she was, competent, smart, that not tolerating his bullshit rather than, if the female lead had been another character like the chick at the beginning doing the ESP, it wouldn't have been nearly as interesting. You had to have somebody who was going to be the whole through line about no one believing her that this madness was happening in her apartment. She wasn't a damsel in distress character, despite the fact that she was going to them for help. But at the same time, she was the perfect sort of foil for Venkman and his silliness. I really can't picture anyone else pulling it off as well as she did, to be honest.
No, I mean I thought she was flawless. And sadly, she always tends to get these roles where she's in her underwear. And somewhere in there, people tend to forget that she's actually a very talented actress.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, we got a little bit of her in her underwear, but we did get the talented actress part, too. Just want to point out, before we move on too far, there was another potential character who they had thought of, but they didn't actually cast for the role. Originally, for Gozer, was not supposed to be the Yugoslav model. Not going to try her name. But the original idea was that Gozer was going to be in the form of Ivo Shandor, who was the creepy architect from Spook Central.
Right.
And they wanted him to be played by Paul Rubens.
Oh, now was Paul Rubens was he? I mean, I know that Pee Wee Herman character was something that grew at the grassroots. But was he known as Pee Wee yet at that point?
Yeah, now, I think at this point he was still doing Pee Wee as sort of a adult.
Yes.
Character. Like Pee Wee wasn't quite targeted at kids yet.
Right.
So he was playing Pee Wee as the man-child, but it was like sort of for an adult audience. So yeah, he had been doing that at this time. I think he started doing that in 1981, somewhere in there, when he developed the character.
Yeah, that would have been a weird decision to go with him. I mean, he could play a villain. He played a ridiculous villain in that god-awful Buffy the Vampire Slayer movie for comedic effect, but could he pull off scary, intimidating? I don't know.
Like, I think it worked. It worked better with just having Miss Slavica Jovan.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Ms. Jovan. I'm assuming she's listening.
Of course.
I don't think she's missed one yet, but I'm sorry I missed your name. But then they had some other guy doing the voice, and I think that was creepy enough to do the job.
It needed to be something otherworldly, really. If it had just been some comedic actor in a bunch of makeup, I don't think it would have had the gravity that it did.
Yeah, plus, I mean, I don't think Ivo Shandor showing up would be as big maybe a drop as they might think. Like he was mentioned quite a bit, but people didn't so much care.
No, it wasn't. You didn't need to build up to reveal of Ivo Shandor for the stories about him to have the impact that they did. I think they made the right move having a kind of an unknown face provide that role.
Right. So moving on, a couple of other people I just want to mention because I think they were good in what they did is William Atherton as Walter Peck.
Yep.
Now, he's not to get too political while we talk about the Ghostbusters movie, but there was that meme going around a few months ago that kind of made me laugh, where they described it as the ultimate libertarian movie, because it's just these three guys trying to start their business, and then the government walks in and shuts it down, and they almost destroy the city.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't know that I had ever heard of the EPA before the Ghostbusters, to be honest. Was that the film that catapulted them into the public consciousness, I wonder?
They were around, but I think that's the first time the EPA has been officially declared the villain.
The villain of the film. Yeah.
it's funny because you almost think like you couldn't do that today.
No, God, forget it. No. Yeah, no, it was and of course the poor electrician who has to do his bidding.
I love that guy who's just looking.
I don't know how this damn thing works. Like,
if he does that again, you can shoot him. Oh, that's such a classic moment. All right, so one thing we need to touch on, all right, because we've talked about a couple of folks. Dan Aykroyd, he's sort of the genius behind this whole thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I watched an interview with him, and this was pretty recent. I think it was something they did for the release of the video game.
Right.
And they remade Ecto 1 to take to, I think, like all the cons or whatever, so that they could have Ecto 1 there to help promote the game. So they modeled it right after what was in the movie. And Dan Aykroyd goes to look at it, and pointing at all the stuff on Ecto 1, and like he says what its name is, and what it would do, and what its actual purpose was, and like why it needed that. And he knew so much about like the whole paranormal, like it's all theoretical science. And to us, it's all just like they said some large words, and I'm going to believe it. But like, it's all founded in some study somewhere, and he knows all of it.
Yeah, he obviously put a lot of thought into everything. And if the look and the lingo and everything is as memorable as it is, it's largely thanks to his efforts. I think that's clear.
He at one point I think said that technically everything in the movie could be made, it would just cost like $70 trillion.
Proton packs included?
Maybe that was for one proton pack. I don't know. I don't think he priced it for all 4. Maybe 5. They need a spare, right?
Right.
You would think they'd need a backup, yeah.
And it turns out they did have a backup in the sequel, didn't they?
Oh yeah. See, we're gonna try not to talk the sequel as much as possible because I'd like to remember Ghostbusters positively.
Hey, now I love that one.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do. I love them both.
No, you are
I
mistaken.
love them both.
You hate to. It was so. All right. We're gonna move on from Ghostbusters 2.
All right.
All right.
Fair
So
enough.
this is usually the part where I ask this open-ended question and let people talk on it for a while, and I know the answer. I'm gonna ask anyway. Jen, did you like this movie?
I love this movie. It's one of my favorites.
Of course it is. I don't know anybody who doesn't like this movie.
Yeah. I feel like everyone holds it very close to their hearts. It's very beloved by everybody. It has everything. It has a great cast, amazing writing, again, genius behind it.
Yeah.
Just everything came together where you can't duplicate something like that.
It still holds up today. I mean, It's obviously in another era. I mean, this movie is, if you took a jar and just filled it with 1980s and sealed it up, that's Ghostbusters, because everything is just 1980s in it. Yeah. But it still holds up where you can watch it and you don't spend the whole movie saying like, oh, well, that's not there, or then you can't do that. And I suppose even the effects are great, except, I gotta say this, if they ever did a special edition, this would be the only thing I want them to touch. Is any time that the dog is jumping or walking or doing something other than just sitting there, it looks horrible.
Yeah.
Old school claymation type.
Yeah, but it's like they try to claymation and then they need to like superimpose it on the real and it just doesn't look good. It's terrible, and everything else they could keep. Like the proton pack still look good, Slimer still looks good.
It holds up quite nicely.
Mr. Stay Puft still looks good. Everything else works except for those stupid dogs.
Yeah, I tend to agree.
I do just have to interject while we're talking about that. A lot of people were actually pissed off when they, not to get off topic about another movie, but just as an example, E.T., when they went back into it, they made him too animated with CG that people actually went, hey, you're with the movie here. Like, stop it.
Well,
I feel like in a way I almost wouldn't want them to change it.
Listen, I'm not saying you go back and you change when it's actually one of the Jim Henson puppets. Those are perfect.
Yeah.
But I would say whenever you're using the claymation that doesn't quite look like it belongs, replace it with something that looks like it belongs. That's all I'm saying.
Fair enough.
Yeah, we're not talking about changing them into holding walkie-talkies instead of rifles or something.
God,
something like that.
Flashlights instead of proton packs.
Yeah, shining flashlights on. Oh, I'm upset because it's plausible.
Exactly.
Who do you think they'd change the EPA guy to? Like, I'm Walter Peck from the who fill in the blank. What would they dub in there?
I don't know, ATF.
NRA?
It's
NRA.
I'm Walter Beck from the NRA.
Yeah, we like to pick those guys apart these days, don't we? So this movie made like a ton of money.
10 times the budget, apparently.
Yeah, which was not a small budget.
No, not for 1980s. Not for what was ostensibly a comedy. As well.
$30 million in 1984 for a comedy.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So I guess good thing it worked out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fun. Like when you think about it, like it must have been a pretty bold pitch. I mean, yes, okay, Aykroyd had some star power. I don't know if he was exactly kicking a lot of goals at the box office. I mean, I know he had been in Blues Brothers, certainly, and probably a few other films of note, but did he really have the pull that he could, and that he could,
well,
go in and get somebody to write him a blank check? I don't know.
Well, the thing is, he goes to Ivan Reitman, and Ivan Reitman absolutely has that pull.
Yeah.
And he brings in Harold Ramis, the late Harold Ramis, who is a comedic genius on levels that most people will never understand.
Yeah.
And I think once you have, Ivan Reitman and Harold Ramis on board, then you're actually in a position where you can start to command that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and get them to budget for all the special effects in a film where in a comedy where normally, you could probably shave half the budget right there by taking that sort of stuff out.
Now, I hear tell that they did a test screening, like without special effects, and everyone loved it. And so that's when they decided, like, okay, we can go ahead and finish this and do this.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wonder what they were using for all the ghosts.
I don't know if it was just like no ghosts or what, or
Sheets.
maybe they had some of them, but not everything filled in.
Yeah, possible.
Yeah. So another breakout star of this movie is Slimer.
Right.
Now, I have to say, I like Slimer in terms of what he did in this movie, but man, he blew up after this, and I am just not a fan. I don't get it.
Can I just say that when I was little, and this will prove how much of a fan I was of these movies, my dad nicknamed me Slimer. Not lying.
Not because
he
of
called
these
me Slimer.
movies? Or was that...
No, yeah, because
Okay.
I was such a big fan and I loved them so much, he would call me Slimer.
Okay.
I know, right?
Wasn't for your table manners then or anything like
Well,
like
we don't need to talk about that.
Okay. Well, it's not that kind of podcast, so we're just gonna leave that. Yeah, I hate Slimer. I never liked him. I don't get... Because to me, he's the ghost from the beginning that slimes Peter, and they have to catch in a phenomenal scene.
Yeah.
Everybody recognizes that. That was the quintessential, like, that was, the scene. And then you show up in the cartoon, and he's just hanging
the
around.
mascot.
He's their buddy, and he's their mascot, and he's in so much of it. And then it gets to the point, after the cartoon's been on for so long, now it's called Slimer and the Real Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Like, so not only is he around, and he's not a ghost, but he is their mascot, now he gets top billing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't necessary.
You couldn't walk into a Toys R Us for 5 to 10 years after the movie was out and not see Slimer somewhere on the shelf or in multiple places around.
Ecto Cooler was on the shelf for years after the series was done. Years.
Fun fact about while we're speaking about Ivan Reitman and now Slimer, do you know that he actually provided the voice, if you will, for Slimer?
Ivan Reitman?
Yeah.
Yep.
I did not know that. No.
I know. I just very recently learned that. I thought that was crazy. And
We
he also
are learning so much today.
I know. Well, okay. Well, I have another one for you.
Oh, well.
He also was the voice of Dana Barrett when she's possessed by Zool.
Oh, he's the voice. There is no Dana, only Zool.
Only Zool, yeah.
That was Reitman.
That's the most overquoted line from that movie that I use is "There is no Dana, only Zool."
Mm-hmm.
There for a period of time, that was my voicemail on my cell phone. He gets 4 rings like, "There is no Dana, only Zool," and then nobody got it, so I had to change it. And
Shame on them.
But I love this movie. Not only was it the first movie I ever saw in the theater, it was the first VHS movie that I ever had, and the first DVD I ever had.
Oh, wow.
Sadly, not the first Blu-ray.
Oh.
Yeah, it was, it took a few years to come out on Blu-ray, didn't it?
Yeah.
And they never released the second, but now finally they're fixing that with this upcoming Blu-ray set which I'm so excited for.
No, you're not, Jen.
I am.
She's a completist.
Especially with a series that I love this much, and I truly do love the second one. I'm not saying it's as good as the first, but I love them pretty equally. Sorry.
No,
It's so good, though.
But it's not. And I think that's part of the issue, is that it's not.
I feel like they really kept that chemistry going with everybody.
They didn't.
They got everyone back.
They did get everyone back. I'm trying to think if anybody didn't come back. Hey there, Enthusiacs. JudgeGreg, interrupting your podcast just to give you a public service announcement. At this point in the podcast, we mistakenly went on a pretty long tirade about how Mayor Lenny didn't return to the Ghostbusters sequel. Looking back, he did return, and he had a pretty prominent role in that movie, but it had been a long time since we'd seen it. I tried to cut that part out and ended up cutting way too much audio, so I'm going to leave it in. So if you're listening right now, just understand, we know we're wrong, and we'll correct it in the next podcast. Enjoy.
Well, did Walter Peck come back?
The mayor was different. Different mayor.
Was it?
True.
Yeah, it wasn't Mayor Lenny. It was Bill Murray's brother played the mayor.
Oh, did he? Okay, I didn't realize that.
Brian Doyle Murphy, is that right? Murray? That would make more sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't remember that.
I remember because Brian Doyle Murray was the mayor in the Ghostbusters video game. That being the most recent one.
Oh, the adventure
not the
title?
most recent one. That was that stupid multiplayer one. So, yeah, the 2009 game. He was the mayor in the 2009 game. Which, we'll talk about the games later, because this, man, you could talk about the games of this movie could be its own podcast.
Yeah.
But anyway, Jen, I think I interrupted you. You were saying something?
Well, no, that's actually what I was going to say, is speaking of games, Ghostbusters 2 was one of the first, games I was really, really, really into in Nintendo. Part of what really got me into gaming.
Are you serious? That game was terrible.
I know it was terrible, but I was like, how old? What year did that game come out? I was born in 86.
Well, the movie was 89, so I would guess probably 90.
All right, well, it didn't take much to please me.
Yeah. Oh, I remember. I didn't have that game, but my neighbor down the street did, and so I was at his house and we'd play it, and it was hard to control, and it was like you were shooting the slime, but you had the one you'd use the arrow buttons to aim the slime, and then you'd have to shoot it, but then you'd also have to run, and it was there were these driving sections where you had to hit these jumps and drive Ecto 1, and it was terrible to control, and I did not like that game, especially since I liked the first movie's game. And Jeff, want to guess what platform I played that on?
Well, I played it on an Atari 800 XL, so try and beat that.
Commodore 64.
Oh, okay. So the Commodore equivalent of the Atari 800 XL. That makes sense.
That's where I played it.
I could be wrong, but I swear I may have had a reversible disc floppy that actually had the Commodore version on the other side for that game. There was a lot of 800 XL and Commodore 64 games that were like that. That might have been one of them, actually.
You know what? One of my favorite games on the Commodore 64.
Yeah.
I like where you have the money and you get to pick out your car and you stock the car with what you want on it.
Vacuum cleaner on the top.
Yeah, got to get the vacuum cleaner on the top.
Yeah,
I used to call it a trumpet because I thought it looked like a trumpet, and I couldn't figure out why the trumpet was sucking the ghosts in.
I found the ending sequence to be frustratingly hard, just because the controls were so bad. But yeah,
no, in the Atari version, did you have to climb up the stairs and stuff?
Yeah, and it was just. It was made more difficult by the fact that they just designed the controls to be really frustrating. I never beat it. I don't even think I got more than a couple of floors up before I bought it.
In the Commodore version, all you had to do was get in the building.
Oh, that's it? Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
You go to the building and Stay Puft is dancing in front of the door, and you just have to get 2 Ghostbusters in. And then you would beat it. There'd be nothing at the top. It would it would scroll up to the top, and the 2 Ghostbusters would be there crossing the streams, and the door would shut.
Oh, okay.
What? That's not fair for.
I agree. Yeah, because that was a very frustrating sequence for a lot of people, and the Commodore version did not have that.
Jeez.
I played it once on the NES version, and I remember just saying this is stupid.
Yeah,
and there weren't even any Game Genie codes that would give you invincibility or anything.
Yeah. No, the NES version was terrible. I remember the Ghostbusters 2 version was slightly better, but only because the first one was so unbelievably bad in terms of the controls and everything.
Yeah. I mean, they got it right with the 2009 game. I like that game. I like that game was its own story, and it was it was a sequel to everything. It tied Ghostbusters 2 back into Ghostbusters 1.
Mm-hmm.
Was it a Telltale game?
No.
No, okay.
It was Activision, right?
Yep, I have it. I just never finished it.
It's one of the few games, because I don't have a lot of time on my hands. It's one of the few games I've actually played through and beaten twice.
Mm.
Oh.
Usually I beat it once. It goes back in the case, and then it goes in the vault, and it never comes out again because I have a stack of shame. But
is the voice acting good, for lack of a better word?
I feel like you want me to say yes.
Well,
but it's not. I mean, there's a big difference between getting Ernie Hudson and Harold Ramis and Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd in a scene and having them play off each other, and then having them sit with headphones on in a studio, probably filming dialogue individually, not playing off each other.
Yeah.
And one of these games, and I'm going to piggyback. You know what? I'm going to piggyback off a Point Streak. So you're playing as the rookie, who's this generic character who's not really supposed to represent anybody, and he interacts with the other four. You don't get to play as them. He plays the rookie, but you can't customize him at all.
Oh.
So the rookie is always the same generic-looking white guy who, quite frankly, looks like Agent McGee from NCIS.
So they call him Proby the whole game? Is that what?
No, they call him Rookie the whole game. But I was playing it. It was with me and a buddy. We're playing this game, and we always called him McGee because we didn't know what else to call him. So make him look that way. I was like, wait, who's that in the background? I think that's McGee. Like, we just call him McGee. That's what we call him. He's officially known as quote unquote the Rookie. And I think in the Game Boy version, they gave him a name in the instruction manual or something nuts like that. But to me, he's always going to be McGee.
And that's okay.
But I just think that would have been a nice point to just let people pick what he looks like. He doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
I don't even think he has any lines of dialogue.
Oh, no.
I'm pretty sure he's silent the entire game. Like, how hard would that... Whatever. All right, sorry. Point Streak's done.
Point Streak
Hero talk. Sorry, we got deep there for a second. All right, so the soundtrack to this film.
Oh, amazing.
I like the original score. I think the songs they picked were 80 songs through and through.
Yeah.
And the Ghostbusters theme song was amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and even more amazing when you hear all the urban myths. Well, I don't know if urban myths is the right word, but when you hear the stories about how apparently it was thrown together quite quickly.
Well, really, I haven't heard this. What was going on?
I haven't either.
Well, apparently he came, Billy. Sorry, was it Billy? Not Billy
Parker
Ocean.
Jr.
Ray Parker Jr. Billy Ocean.
Billy Ocean, really? Get out. Jen and I will finish with that.
Get out of here.
Apparently, Ray Parker Jr. claimed that he just came up with it in about 5-10 minutes, the whole thing.
Oh my God.
He just threw it together. Now, he subsequently got sued by, I believe, Huey Lewis, because apparently, now I'm trying to remember off the top of my head which was the song that the hook was apparently copied from that he got accused of. I don't know the Huey Lewis discography that well, but yeah, he got into some trouble about it sounding like another song, but yeah, apparently he just wrote it he was asked to write it, came up with it just quick, and it was more or less as is, with a bit of instrumentation and creepy music in the background added in, and yet one of the most memorable movie theme songs, particularly of the 80s ever, just really just came up with it on a whim apparently.
Well, good for him. Because it's an amazing song.
Yeah.
It made a very good theme song. It made a very good. I mean, they used it how many times in the movie? They had one full montage using the song. They used it in the intro, and it was the closing song.
The closing, yeah, definitely.
Then the cartoon used it, and then the game used it, and
so
the very iconic.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as you said, a lot of the other pieces, a lot of the other songs in it were very 80s, but they just work with the movie. Like you can forgive them even when they're being they're a bit too 80s.
Yeah. I mean, this movie was everything 80s, so I don't hold anything against it for being dated, because when a movie plants itself so firmly in a timeline that you could basically consider it a period piece looking back, then I'm okay with that.
I don't pretend to know New York City well, but if you wanted to point to a film that just said New York to me, Ghostbusters is definitely it. Like,
Yeah.
The New York. I think I've heard it said that the fifth member of the cast was basically New York itself, and it's
Not Ecto-1?
not. All right, six.
Why how are you just going to blow off Ecto-1 like that?
Why Ecto 1? I have heard that too.
I've always wanted to know what kind of car is Ecto 1. I know it's a hearse, but like what model was it? Like, is that an old caddy or?
I want to say it is.
I'm
pretty sure it was.
It's just one of those choices, and I don't know whether it was Aykroyd. I wouldn't be surprised if it was, but whoever made that choice, it just, every once in a while, somebody picks a car, or it's every bit as recognizable a vehicle for 80s cars as, the DeLorean was for Back to the Future. It's just the perfect choice, an older car that's really probably not up to the task, much like their Firehouse.
Yes.
But it just works. And the hearse was brilliant as well. I don't know who to credit for that, but that was, who doesn't want their own little die-cast Ecto-1 toy? I had one when I was younger that I've long since lost, but I wouldn't mind getting my hands on a scale model Ecto.
There's got to be. I mean, it's the 30th anniversary. There's got to be those on sale somewhere.
Actually, there's like with the Hot Wheels, they do. Gosh, I'm forgetting the name of it, but they do like really nice, larger scale replicas. It's about $150, I think, but it looks amazing.
I was thinking more in the $10 range.
Well, no.
Matchbox Ecto 1.
Okay, well, that's available too, but I don't know. When it comes to the Ecto 1, I want to go big or go home.
Okay, well, easy, Slimer. I have a kid. I got a thief. So I can't be going all crazy with Ecto 1 replicas.
All right.
All right, so does anyone else have Ecto Cooler? Can I throw back to that? Like, did you guys actually have it?
Is that the drink or the?
Yeah, that was the drink.
Yeah, I've seen it. But I don't know if it was available for sale in Canada or not. I had a friend who bought it when he was down on a trip to the States. I never tasted it. Probably wasn't missing anything there. We certainly had the slime available in stores here. That's for damn sure.
What really kind of scares me a little bit is because slime was everywhere in the 80s, like Nickelodeon slime and other people's slime and the Ghostbusters slime, and now it's not, which then makes me think, like, so it's probably linked to cancer or something like that. There has to be a reason why there's no slime anymore, and that's the only one I can think of. Somebody
found out something that
they know something.
Got rid of
they kept it quiet, and they just got rid of the slime. I saw online one of the local Ghostbusters affiliates in Chicago. They had a video showing the recipe for how you could make your own Ecto Cooler.
Oh wow!
A lot of sugar.
Yeah, no kidding.
A lot of sugar. Wow. I knew a guy who tried to make some with their recipe, and he said it was so sweet we had to like cut it with water.
Ecto Cooler on the rocks.
Yeah. I don't know. I have a very serious issue with eating things that are not the color of what the ingredients of them should be.
Right.
I mean, maybe that's just me, but yeah, like if you're putting a lot of orange and tangerine into something, and then you're serving it to me, and it's bright green, something's wrong. Because you didn't put anything green in that. Nothing was green going in.
Wait. Are you telling me sugar's not green?
Sugar is not green.
Oh.
No, we were eating chemicals.
Yeah, but again, this whole generation that now is like, what the hell? I'm not putting that in my body. We were all so little that we would have been like, yeah, it's green.
Yeah. You know what? I think there's something to this generation's idea of, hey, that's a bunch of fake chemicals. I don't think I want to eat those. We were just like, I'm going to eat the green stuff that glows in the dark. Like, remember those ketchups that were the different colors?
Oh, yeah.
Ew, yeah.
Blue ketchup, yay! No.
Ooh.
I'm not even a super fan of red ketchup, because it's not even supposed to be that red. But blue ketchup, how much do they have to put in? Because they have to get by, all the ingredients in ketchup are red.
Yep.
So you got to put enough blue in, so you're not getting purple, you're getting blue.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't want to think about that.
I once made Halloween cookies, and I used orange and black food coloring, and I feel like my mouth was stained for about a week. So, like, what's that doing inside your body?
It can't be good.
No.
Man. feel like sometimes after I eat that stuff, I feel like I'm about to go to the bathroom and pass a full free floating full torso animation. I love that description. That was the librarian, right? That was the free floating full torso apparition.
Yeah.
Say that 3 times fast.
I cannot. I can't even say that once.
I
This
just
is the
love
third time
how-
I've attempted to say that in the course of our conversation, and this is the last time was the first time I got it right. So
I love how Ray says all these terms just like he's bird watching. Like there's nothing the least bit unusual about the way he just
Yeah.
every and Egon of course hears it and is like, yep, and yeah.
I love Egon.
Oh,
I-
yeah.
Me too.
I mean he's so unlike Harold Ramis. You know, like he's so straight up and like since he's the straight man, like Harold almost doesn't get to like do his normal thing, but he plays it so perfect. Like, you know, I collect more spolds and fungus. It's just, nobody else could deliver that line and make it funny.
Mm-hmm.
And the Twinkie line, of course, he still has a knack for explaining things to the everyman, to the layman.
Yeah. I like in that scene, he stops for a moment and you just know that the character, Egon, he's doing that calculation in his head.
Yeah.
Like, how big would the Twinkie be? Oh, here's how big. I think one of the character traits they tried to have for him that they didn't really fully flesh out is Egon is supposed to be like always snacking.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that's why like he's eating the Twinkie all the time, and like to reward him when he actually came up with the containment unit, you know, Peter gave him the chocolate bar.
Like candy bar. You've
Yeah.
earned
Oh,
this.
You've
yeah.
earned this. It was a crunch bar, right? Is that right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take back those things I said about you.
Oh man, I love just they were so excited. Everyone has 3 mortgages these days. They make all the worst choices just to get into business.
and of course the fire pole.
Build up all the pull was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it has to be, for me, it's probably the most quotable movie of all time. I really, I'm a Star Wars fan, and that's saying something, saying that it's even more quotable than Star Wars. It's, they're really, I really can't think of a scene in the movie where there isn't at least one really laugh out loud, funny line, or quite clever line.
No, they're all, every single scene does. There's even an exposition scene, something funny is happening.
Yeah, no, it's there's the more I think about it, really, there's not like it's one of those movies where you know how you can judge a movie by how easy it is to just go and take a whiz in the middle of it without pausing it and not worrying about missing anything. Like,
What are you talking about?
you really, there's really not a slow scene, with the exception of maybe I don't know the ghosts getting, you know. A few scenes of the ghosts, you know, like escaping into New York and causing mischief, maybe that go on for a bit long.
Once the containment unit goes down, and you're done with the sign of "It's a sign," and it's the sign, all right, of going out of business.
Yeah,
Once that line's done,
yeah,
then you have a very quick moment.
yeah, where you could leave the room. But yeah, there's really not many slow scenes. There's not. It's very well edited. You don't look at it and think, well, this could have been shortened up, or this could have been shortened up. Like it's quite for a movie that's over 100 minutes. I think it might even be close to 110. It doesn't drag, and it just hits all the right beats. I often wonder whether in all these sets, Jen, whether or not we're going to see, you know, deleted scenes at last and stuff like that. It would be almost kind of strange
Yeah, I mean,
to
I
see
don't
that.
think they fully released all of the info of everything. I know there's going to be new special features. There could be. Oh, there will be. Sorry, I'm just going back to my old notes.
Oh,
There will be deleted scenes. I don't know how many, or if they're going to be necessarily that new. But considering there hasn't ever been a Blu-ray release of the second one, I'm sure there's going to be at least some new stuff on there.
Oh,
yeah.
Yay, more stuff from the second movie.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get on board this with you, Jen. I really am.
All right.
But I
See,
think you're wrong.
We need to watch it together so I can point out all the fun. Can I just tell you one more little fact about the second one, even though you hate it?
Sure. I can edit this out later. Don't worry.
No.
This is actually a
Okay.
good fact if it's the one that I think it is. It's
It
pretty
is.
interesting.
And I didn't know about this until I was doing my research for this last article, but do you know, okay, well, you know Vigo, obviously,
Yes.
in the second one. Do you know that his voice is not his voice? That when you hear Vigo speaking in the movie, it is not that actor. The actor's name was, it's like Wilhelm von Humberg or whatever. Sorry, I
Oh.
butchered the guy's name too.
Yeah. We're sorry, Mr. Wilhelm.
Sorry, buddy.
Sure he listens. He's
Oh,
an
yeah.
avid fan. Writes us every week.
Absolutely. But have you heard this, Mr. Judge?
No, I have
Because I know
not.
Jeff, Baron Fang, sorry, knows what I'm talking about. But, so every
Oh.
line you hear of his was not him. It was a legendary actor that
Yeah.
voiced Vigo. And that is, and I'm probably saying this poor man's name wrong too, but Max von Sydow,
Yeah.
who is,
I
Of
had
course.
no idea that that's who that was.
of course, most known as The Exorcist. And the horror fan that I am about wet herself when she found out, oh my god, that's Max. I had no idea for the longest time.
So I did not know that.
Yeah. Father Marin helping out the Ghostbusters. You know, just helping out their movie, that's all.
Good Father Marin. Yeah. No, I will say, if there's one thing about Ghostbusters that I can almost not forgive it for, this is the movie that I'm assuming has inspired all these modern-day reality show ghost hunters, ghost trackers, ghost
No
chasers.
doubt.
Yeah, definitely.
And, like, sometimes I think these guys are just, like, they're ghost tourism guys. They just do it with the sake of the show. Like, they just really wanted to check out some haunted places. So they show up with their little equipment and their light show, and they convince these people that they've actually seen a ghost. So they can come in, they can clean everything up, and who knows where they're putting these things. And I want to see the containment unit.
Where did they get that idea?
But I can't stand these guys. And you look at them, and you just want to say, like, you're not the Ghostbusters. Man,
Well, I don't know. I love the Ghost Hunters.
nobody loves the Ghost Hunters.
The thing that they have that these other shows don't have is, like you said, they go in there and they say, oh, look what we found. They have always been this place is not haunted. We didn't find anything here.
Right, but I'm going to call shenanigans, because they went to Ledge Lighthouse in New London, Connecticut, and they said they found
Love that
nothing.
one.
And everybody knows that Ernie haunts Ledge Lighthouse. So when they say nothing, I throw the flag. Yes.
The BS flag.
The BS flag. Come on.
The one place they should have found something and
Yeah,
they didn't.
everybody knows that Ernie's there. Everybody knows that.
Well, maybe Ernie was just, floating about somewhere else that night.
I just don't get it. Ernie loves that lighthouse. He used to take care of it. That's what everyone used to say. Like he
Maybe.
used to do maintenance and clean stuff, and it used to drive the Coast Guard nuts when it was actually manned.
Maybe he hates all these reality ghost shows as much
I
as
would
you
like
do,
to
and he was
think
like,
he does.
F you.
Yeah, I would like to think he does. I think he's like, oh, ghost hunters, huh? I think I'm just going to take the night off. All right, so Jeff, what was your favorite part of this movie?
Really, the pretty much the entire hotel sequence. When their first job, we got one. From there on, to them cracking wise after and threatening to release the thing again. that whole sequence is just amazing.
I love every part of that sequence. They'll be totally discreet, and they roll in, siren blazing. Anybody seen a ghost?
And there's yes, there's some heavy dialogue sections, but there's also some sections of them on their own wandering around, and just great takes, like the power pack being turned on the other two, like ducking into the corner to get away from the radiation, like there's scenes where they're on their own or they're over the walkie-talkie with one another, and of course that's the first time you actually get to see them use the equipment and all that, and actually, succeed, so to speak. So, my favorite line of the whole movie, the maid. What the hell are you doing?
Really? I honestly thought you were going to go with, and the flowers are still standing.
And look, I love that line, and great. It's a great one because you just know that Bill Murray came up with that.
Yeah.
Like
You
on
wonder
his
if he
own.
was even supposed to pull the thing on the table. If he just, I think I'm going to do this. Somebody film this.
Yeah,
Don't look at the trap. I looked at the trap, Ray.
Yeah, that bit with the maid that just gets me
Yeah.
every time. Sorry.
We should split up. You're right. We can do more damage that way.
No damage that way. How about you, Jen?
I mean, I love that whole scene as well. Like, just all of that is amazing. Everything you guys said, like, those are pretty much all the first lines that I think of when I think of the movie. But I also really have a special place in my heart for the whole library scene.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
It's so creepy. It's so fun. There's just, when I go into an old library or, an old bookstore like that, there's something creepy about it. I don't know why. And I feel like that's kind of how I feel when I'm in stores like that, is I almost feel like they're haunted. I don't know. I feel like that whole scene is really fun, and that's actually possibly my favorite.
I think there's a good chance that would be my favorite if it wasn't that I still remember being 3 years old watching that scene every time I'm at it. Like, yeah, that would freak me out. Yeah. It was with no small amount of satisfaction that in the video game you get to go back and actually bust her.
Get her.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
No, she was one of the levels in the video game where they were tracking something, and like it's all connected. She had something to do with like Ivor Shandor too, but
Yeah.
you have to go back after her, so you go back down into the basement. You gotta get her again. And if I had to choose my favorite scene, I love the whole like climbing up to the building. Like everything from when they enter Spook Central. Like up through, I mean, just everything at that point. They're climbing the stairs. They're tired. Where do these stairs go? They go up, and they go up. They see the door open. They see everyone like turn to the dogs, and he's like, "Yeah, that's right, my girlfriend's dog." The choosing who's the destructor, and Ray's all, "What just popped in there?" And he comes. It's Mr. Stay Puft, the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Yeah.
Which, when you're a kid, it's just kind of funny, but you don't understand how absurdly, amazingly funny that is until you're older. And like, yeah, it's the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, the guy on the marshmallow box.
He's a sailor.
Yeah. Oh, it's great. I love my mom. My mind is completely incapacitated by fear, and then they finally come up with the plan to cross the streams, and it's great. And
It's such a great climactic.
It
part
is.
of a
It's
movie, really. Not too many movies pay off as well as Ghostbusters does.
the whole thing is just perfect. I love watching it, and it's also when my favorite Ghostbuster gives my favorite line of the movie is when Winston says, "This job is definitely not worth $11,500 a year." Because that was pretty low even in the 80s.
Yeah.
To think that
Like, he was basically literally, he is hunting ghosts. He is preventing the end of the world. But because, he's just an employee, he's making a blue-collar wage.
yeah.
Speaking of that scene, that is possibly one of the most iconic lines from the movie. When someone asks you if you're a god, you say yes.
Oh.
Amazing.
Yeah, everything. There's nothing that is said or done in that sequence that is not perfect. Like, there's not a single bit of wasted dialogue in any of it.
Yeah.
And it's great up until they blow her up, and then, they have to resolve and then from there it's not as fun. But
Yeah.
And Walter Peck gets a whole bunch of, marshmallow blown up. Once again, screw you, EPA.
Screw you.
Yeah. Wasn't it all shaving cream, too?
It had to have been. I was
Yeah,
just going to ask that, though.
Although, how many cans of shaving cream must that have been?
Yeah, but I mean,
That's a lot.
There's no chance it was marshmallow. Like, that's just not feasible on any level.
Yeah, it was too, whipped and light and...
Yeah, I assume it was shaving cream.
Let's hope they cover that in the special features of that set coming out. What was all that stuff?
Yeah. So, Jen, if you had to score this movie, what would you give it?
5 Slimers out of 5.
All right. Jeff.
Oh, a score for this film?
You knew this was coming this entire time. I'm going to put this off. If you've listened to Hero Talk before, this is what we do. You've been on one.
I have. I will give it 10 slores out of 10. I can't even say what a slore is. But yeah.
I will give it 5 free-floating, full-torso apparitions out of 5. Hey, I did it!
Did it!
Yay! All right. Well, hey, that was Hero Talk. Jen, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Jeff, I
Thank you
guess
very much.
I had to have you here too.
Thank you.
Jeff, thanks a lot for coming on.
No worries.
All right, and everybody out there, we hope you had fun, and we will see you back on the next Hero Talk.